All right, welcome back, everybody. Ready for another deep dive?
Oh, always.
Today, we're going deep on the Thomas Bradley Project.
Okay, I've heard the name.
Yeah, so have I, but to be honest, I don't know a ton about them.
Right.
That's why we're doing this deep dive. Someone sent in this press release about their debut single.
Debut single.
It's called All I Ever Wanted.
Interesting.
So we're going to figure out, like, who is this band? What's their music like? What's all the hype about?
Yeah, figure out what makes this debut single so special. They had to send out a press release.
Totally. Before we jump in, I do want to give a huge thanks to Dulaxi for sponsoring this episode. We couldn't do it without you guys.
Thanks, Dulaxi.
Okay, so the press release starts off by talking about how the Thomas Bradley Project, the band, is from Liverpool, England.
Okay, so right away we're thinking Beatles, bro.
I know, right? Liverpool's got this, like, musical legacy.
Yeah, for sure.
But they're not like a straight-up Beatles tribute band or anything.
I wouldn't think so with a name like that.
It says they blend alternative rock, folk, and even some progressive elements.
Oh, wow, a little bit of everything.
Yeah, so that already sounds pretty interesting to me. Like, what does that sound like altogether?
Yeah, curious.
So the band is led by Thomas Bradley. Makes sense.
I think so, yeah.
And apparently he's a pretty serious multi-instrumentalist, plays a ton of different things.
Oh, wow, okay. Like what kind of stuff?
Well, the press release says he handles the vocals, lead guitar, strings, synths, and keys.
Oh, wow. That's a lot.
And he composes all the music, too.
Okay, so really the heart and soul of this project.
Definitely seems like it, but I'm glad they pointed out the other band members, too, because it's not like a solo act, you know?
Right, there's got to be a reason they call it a project and not just, the Thomas Bradley solo album or whatever.
Exactly. So the other guys in the band are Finn Bryan. He plays bass.
Sure.
Then we've got Paul Keelan on drums.
Okay, rhythm section.
And then Philip Hall. He plays acoustic and rhythm guitar.
Oh, nice. So they've got the full band sound?
Yeah. And it sounds like they all play a pretty important role, like shaping the overall sound of the band.
Right, right.
The press release makes a point of saying that, the current lineup is really what's made the band what it is today.
Interesting.
Okay, so before we get into the single itself, I think it's worth mentioning a few of the things they've already done, because it's kind of impressive.
Oh, yeah, like what?
Well, for starters, they've already performed at the Cavern Club.
Oh, wow. In Liverpool.
Yeah, the Cavern Club, like Beatles territory.
That's pretty big for a band that's just starting out.
Right.
It makes you wonder how they got there.
I know, right? Like, what's their story? And they also won the Eli Folk Festival Band Contest.
Oh, cool.
So they're already getting some recognition.
Clearly talented.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, and they're headlining a show at Telford's Warehouse in Chester soon.
Okay, keeping busy.
And they're starting to build a following internationally, which I find super interesting.
Internationally, how do you even do that pre-debut single?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like, is it the Liverpool connection? Does that give them a boost?
It's possible. Like, I feel like people are always looking for the next big thing from Liverpool.
Yeah, totally. So I'm really curious to hear what they sound like if those influences come through in their music,
For sure. So the press release mentions their musical influences, or at least some of them.
Yeah, they name-dropped a bunch of big names.
Like who?
Well, on the rock side, they mentioned Led Zeppelin, Pearl Jam, and Greta Van Fleet.
Oh, wow. So like classic rock, but with a modern edge.
Yeah, that's kind of the vibe I'm getting. But then they also mentioned more like reflective songwriters as influences.
Okay, like who?
Bob Dylan, Peter Gabriel, Van Morrison.
Wow, that's a really interesting mix. Like, how do you combine all of that?
Yeah, I'm curious too. It seems like they're drawing from a lot of different places, which could be really cool.
It's like they're not afraid to experiment, to push the boundaries a bit.
Yeah, which makes me even more excited to hear this single.
Me too. So what do we know about All I Ever Wanted, besides the, obvious?
Well, it sounds like they see it as more than just like a standalone song.
Okay, how so?
They're calling it like a prelude to their upcoming music.
Oh, so it's like a taste of what's to come.
Exactly. And it seems like they put a lot of thought into it, like they didn't just slap something together.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
So the single comes out January 31st, 2025.
Got it.
And get this, Thomas composed it while he was on a retreat in the Welsh countryside.
Oh, wow. So like out in nature.
Yeah, the press release says he was specifically inspired by the scenery there.
Interesting. That makes me think the music might have a kind of like expansive atmospheric quality to it.
Yeah, I'm picturing rolling hills and like wide open spaces.
Yeah, definitely a different vibe than like a dark, grungy studio.
Totally. And speaking of visuals, they actually included a picture of the single's artwork.
Oh, cool. What's it like?
Well, it was photographed at West Kirby, which is across the Mersey from Liverpool.
Oh, okay, I see.
The photographer's name is Edie Lees.
Edie Lees.
And the photo itself has this very, like, open and expansive feeling.
So it ties into that whole nature theme.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And the press release mentions that the song explores themes of love and longing, which kind of makes sense with the whole, like, vastness of the artwork and the location where he wrote it.
Yeah, I can see that. Like longing for something just out of reach.
Exactly. It's like they're creating this whole world around the song, even before you hear a single note.
Very cool. It definitely makes me want to hear what it sounds like.
Me too. So they've set the stage, created this atmosphere of anticipation. Now let's actually dive into the music itself.
Yeah, let's hear it.
The press release actually breaks down All I Ever Wanted in a way that feels almost like a guided tour.
Oh, cool. Like they're walking us through it.
Yeah, they highlight specific elements and how they work together.
Sounds good to me.
Are you ready to hit play on this sonic journey?
Absolutely. Let's do it. All right, hit play.
Okay, here we go.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh, I like this already.
Yeah, that's nice.
Okay, so remember how they mentioned the opening is like a reflective guitar progression?
Right.
I totally hear that.
Yeah, it's very atmospheric, like kind of spacious.
Yeah, and intimate at the same time. It's kind of cool how they do that.
It's interesting how they use the reverb. They talked about that in the press release, right? Those delicate reverb
Yeah.
effects.
Totally.
I can hear that now, like it's giving the sound this kind of depth and space.
Yeah, it's like the music is like surrounding you.
Yeah, exactly. Like you're not just listening to it, you're kind of immersed in it.
Totally. And they said there was this like subtle undercurrent of longing in the intro, even before the vocals come in.
Yeah, I remember that. And I think that's what they're doing with this, like with this atmosphere they're creating.
Yeah, it's like they're setting the stage for something, but you're not quite sure what yet.
Exactly. Like there's a sense of anticipation.
And then there's the vocals.
Oh, yeah.
That's Thomas Bradley,
Wow.
that voice.
Yeah, the press release wasn't kidding.
They described it as like rich and expressive, a balance between fragility and strength.
Yeah, I can hear both of those things. Like there's a vulnerability there, but also a power.
Totally. And they mentioned this like underlying sense of yearning.
Yeah. You can hear that in his voice, like he's reaching for something.
It's so good.
It really draws you in, makes you want to hear what he's singing about.
Okay, pause it for a second.
All right.
So we've talked about the vocals, but what about the other instruments? They mentioned in the press release that there's this like really cool interplay between the acoustic and electric guitars.
Right. Like they complement each other somehow.
Yeah, so the acoustic guitar is like the foundation.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like the backbone of the song.
And then the electric guitar comes in, but it's not like in your face.
No, it's subtle, almost like it's weaving in and out.
Yeah, and they use the word embellishments to describe it, which I thought was a good word.
Yeah, it's like it's adding these little details, these flourishes that make the sound richer.
Totally. And I wonder if that's where some of their rock influences come in, like the Led Zeppelin, the Pearl Jam.
It's possible. Like those bands are known for their like iconic guitar riffs.
Yeah, but here it's more like they're using those techniques, but in a more restrained way.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
they're hinting at those influences without, going full on rock anthem.
Exactly. But I think it's really cool.
Yeah, it shows like they're not just copying their influences, they're like incorporating them into their own sound.
Okay, let's keep listening.
All right, let's go.
Oh, I love that drum part.
Yeah, the drums are really driving the song forward.
They mentioned in the press release that they used live percussion, which I always think adds a certain something,
Yeah, it definitely gives it a more organic feel.
like more human.
Exactly. Like you
Yeah.
can hear the subtle variations in the rhythm, the little imperfections.
Yeah, it makes it feel more real, more alive.
Oh.
Okay, hold on one second. I want to go back to that bass line for a second.
Okay.
So they said the bass provides depth without overwhelming the harmony,
Right, I remember that.
which is like a perfect way to describe it. 'Cause
Yeah.
it's there, it's adding this low-end richness,
Uh-huh.
but it's not overpowering the other instruments.
Yeah, it's like it's holding everything together
Exactly.
like a foundation.
Okay, here comes the chorus.
Oh, yeah. This is where it all comes together.
They describe this as the emotional peak of the song.
Yeah, definitely. You can hear that in the vocals, like the intensity is building.
And the music swells too, like all the instruments are coming together.
Yeah, it's like this wave of sound.
It's pretty powerful.
And it's interesting, like they've built up to this moment so well, starting with that quiet, reflective intro.
Uh-huh.
And now it's like all that emotion is finally released.
Totally. And it's not just like loud for the sake of being loud. You know?
No, it feels earned, like it's a natural progression of the song.
Yeah, exactly.
I love how they've managed to create this like really polished sound, but still keep it feeling organic.
Yeah, they mentioned that Thomas Bradley produced, arranged, and engineered the track himself.
Wow, all in his home studio. That's impressive.
And then they brought in Ben Booker to master it.
Right, Ben Booker's a great mastering engineer.
They clearly put a lot of thought into every aspect of the song.
Yeah, they're not messing around, like they're serious about their music. It's really impressive they did all that in a home studio, you know?
I know, right? Like, what can't this guy do?
Seriously.
So I think it's safe to say the Thomas Bradley project, they're definitely ones to watch.
Oh yeah, they've got something special going on.
What stood out to you the most about them from this whole press release?
That's a good question.
Besides, like, Thomas Bradley being a musical genius, obviously.
I mean, yeah, that's kind of a given at this point, right?
True, true.
But honestly, it's just how intentional they seem to be about everything.
Yeah.
Like you were saying before, they're not leaving anything to chance, you know?
Totally.
From where the song was written to the choice of mastering engineer, every detail seems carefully considered.
It's that they have this, like, roadmap for success, and they're sticking to it.
Yeah, exactly.
But the thing is, like, we don't know what the destination is yet, you know?
Right, right.
The press release says they see All I Ever Wanted as a prelude to their upcoming music.
Yeah, so it's just the beginning.
Exactly. And they're already building this, like, international fan base.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you even do that before your debut single even drops?
It's like they've cracked the code or something.
Maybe they have.
So I'm curious, like, what are their goals? What are they aiming for?
That's the big question, isn't it?
Yeah. Are they, like, shooting for the moon?
Trying to be the next big thing, you know, stadium tours, #1 hits, all that.
Totally. Or maybe they're more focused on, like, building a dedicated fan base.
Yeah, like a slow burn, you
Yeah.
know, word of mouth, connecting with people on a deeper level.
That's a good point, because there's so many different paths a band can take these days.
It's not like the old days where it was all about getting radio play.
Right, right.
Now you've got streaming services, social media, like there's so many ways to reach people.
It's like the whole music industry has been flipped on its head.
Definitely makes things more interesting, that's for sure.
So I guess we'll just have to wait and see what happens with the Thomas Bradley project.
Yeah, see which path they choose.
It's kind of exciting though, right? Like, we're in on the ground floor.
Oh, absolutely.
We get to watch their journey unfold.
Front row seats to the whole thing.
Exactly. And speaking of front row seats,
Yeah.
I know I'm going to be right there when All I Ever Wanted drops on January 31st.
Me too. Can't wait to hear the full thing.
Yeah, after hearing just those snippets, I have a feeling this song is going to be on repeat for a while.
I think you're right. It's catchy.
And it's got that depth to it, you know? Like, it's not just surface level.
Yeah, there's something more there, something that makes you want to listen again and again.
Totally.
I think they've got a bright future ahead of them.
I agree. I'm really glad we got to do this deep dive on them.
Yeah, me too.
It's always fun to uncover these, like, hidden gems.
Before they blow up, you know?
Exactly. And share them with all of you, our amazing
Yeah,
listeners.
that's what we're here for.
Before we go, I do want to give another shout out to Dulaxi for sponsoring this episode.
Thanks again, Dulaxi.
Seriously, you guys are the best.
Couldn't do these deep dives without you.
So there you have it, folks. The Thomas Bradley Project. A band on the verge of something big.
Definitely mark your calendars for January 31st.
All I Ever Wanted, make sure to check it out.
And keep those deep dive requests coming.
We love hearing from you guys.
Until next time.
Happy listening, everyone.